You're watching Mc&T Sports Report on CHCO-TV. And now, here's two guys who spent Valentine's Day warding off eligible females from all over Charlotte County, Evan and Joe.
I'm Joe Ticotsky down in New Haven, Connecticut.
I'm Evan McFarlane here in St. Andrews, New Brunswick, Canada.
And you're watching episode 67 of Mc&T Sports Report on CHCO-TV. We had an exciting Super Bowl recently, and that means it's time to review our Super Bowl predictions from the last episode. So let's take a quick look back at what your two fearless prognosticators offered up to the viewing public just before the big game took place. So now for the Super Bowl 58 winner. Who do you?
Lions by 10.
Wow, Lions going with Cinderella.
Crazy.
And I'll go chalk. I will go with the 49ers. Hey, at least I had one of the teams that actually played in the Super Bowl.
My name is actually the crypt keeper of NFL betting. I ruin teams is what I do.
Detroit.
Man.
Do they even have an NFL team?
I
know they were a bandwagon team, but yeah, pretty good fourth quarter and overtime. Up until then, a little calm, but yeah, pretty wild Super Bowl.
It was awesome. The first half was great because I just watched Nick Taylor win in Phoenix, so that was that was the excitement for the first half for me.
You have a favorite commercial from the Super Bowl?
You mean like we don't get the commercials that you get down there. We got to kind of dig through YouTube and find them afterwards. But I can see you wearing one of those Duncan suits that Tom Brady was rocking. You and I, Tom Brady, Ben Affleck, we could pull that off.
That was pretty wild. I like the commercial with Michael Cera for CeraVe face cream when he climbs the mountain and says, "Let my cream hydrate you," and is rubbing the cream all over the mountain. That was a classic.
I love that guy. I feel like he's permanently in character.
He is. Well, recently I was interviewed by CBC Radio, of all people, about my journey from Connecticut to your fair province 10 years ago last month. So here's a short clip from that interview.
Yeah, I guess it's the old you couldn't write this story if you tried.
Well, that's just it. I mean, all these things happen. I understand, too, you ended up hosting a sports show. Is that right?
Yeah. On the community station there, CHCO-TV, the boys coach, Evan McFarlane, and myself have done a sports show for 4.5 years now. I've interviewed owners of stores from British Columbia, an indigenous singer from the Yukon, sports people from all over. So that was sort of another thing that we have this show now that's been on for 4.5 years.
You know what? That was pretty good, Joe. I like that they acknowledge that you make that trip. That's a long ways to go for an old guy like you. But thanks for the shout out. Appreciate it.
You remember that first night where I walked into the practice? And
I do.
That was wild.
Long time ago.
None of us knew anyone. Well, we do have some post-Groundhog Day information that I dug up, and most of you have heard of the famous Punxsutawney Phil from Pennsylvania, but I found out that Canada has some famous animal predictors of its own. There's Shubenacadie Sam and Lucy the Lobster, both out in Nova Scotia. There's Wharton Willie, an albino groundhog in Ontario, and Fred La Marmotte in Quebec. That's a classic. But sadly, Manitoba's official groundhog named Willow died the weekend before Groundhog Day.
That can't be a good sign.
And we have an exclusive picture that you're seeing now of Tim the Groundhog, location and prediction unknown. And all I can say about that is one sad human being. All right, let's move on to the music spotlight. This time we'll dig into a chart from Atlantic Canada, where the most recent top songs from Atlantic Canada, number 3 is Welcome Home by Alan Doyle. Number 2 is A Girl Like You by Dave Gunning. And number 1 by our good friend David Miles is
There we
Break
go.
Free. And he played at the golf tournament for the basketball court, correct?
He did, yeah. Dave's a great guy. Nice intimate atmosphere out here. It makes me want to have a lot more music at the golf course because him and the boys rocked it that afternoon. It was awesome.
Good stuff. And every Saturday, if anyone's interested, from 4 to 6 p.m. Atlantic time, you can listen to the East Coast Top 30 on CIOE 97.5 FM in Lower Sackville, Nova Scotia, or by going to communityradio.ca. And I think there's a joke in there somewhere involving Lower Sackville and Upper Sackville, but since we're PG rated, I will not go there. You ever been to Sackville?
Yeah, a couple times.
Okay, all right. Well, after this short break, we will chat with a college student and his professor who were among a group that worked at this year's Super Bowl in Las Vegas. You're watching Mc&T Sports Report on CHCO-TV in St. Andrews. Welcome back to Mc&T Sports Report on CHCO-TV. I'll bet most of you in Canada have never heard of Nichols College. Located in Dudley, Massachusetts, with an enrollment of just 1,600 students, it is known as a top-notch business college. And earlier in February, students from its Super Bowl practicum class actually went to Las Vegas to get class credit and work at Super Bowl 58. While learning about the economics, sponsorship, and advertising around the game, they even got a paycheck from the NFL. So while Evan is out on assignment, cleaning and sorting empty beer cans from a Super Bowl party, well, let's learn more about this special student experience and welcome in Dr. Christopher Streeter, Assistant Professor of Sport Management at Nichols College, and student Spencer Berlepsch. Gentlemen, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having us.
Great to be here.
All right, Dr. Streeter, we'll start out with you. Tell us a bit about the class itself, and once students enroll in the class, are they all guaranteed to go to the Super Bowl?
The 3-credit class, we call it the Super Bowl practicum. It consists of 10 classroom sessions, 6 sessions on campus before we travel, and then of course the 7-day trip. And then we've got 4 debriefing sessions when we get back, where we do a SWOT analysis and the students complete a final reflection. We had about 28 applicants this year, and of the 28, I selected what I felt like were the strongest 17 sport management majors to attend with us.
Great. Spencer, how early in the week did you arrive in Las Vegas, and what other colleges had sent students out there with this program?
So we arrived on Tuesday night. So the 3-hour time gap gave us a little bit of time. So we got there, I believe it was around 7 p.m. Pacific time. And as for other college, there were a lot. We had a networking event later in the week. So we actually got to meet a lot of the college places like Tennessee, Niagara University, places like that. And I believe it was around 40 schools. I don't have an exact number. I know it was in that wheelhouse though, but there were hundreds of college students that worked there. And I think from Nichols College, we're just very lucky to be a part of it.
Okay. Now, did you leave right after Travis Kelce sang Viva Las Vegas up on the stage, or did you hang around till Monday?
We hung around till we got up pretty early on Monday morning, but we did get to sleep in the house that we had rented out that night. So we kind of got to chill out and just talk about the Super Bowl, stuff like that. A lot of us are pretty exhausted after the 12-hour shift. So a lot of us went right to bed, but we got to hang out that night and then left in the morning.
Great. Dr. Streeter, you went to Vegas with the group?
I did. I'm fortunate enough the school has given me a lot of academic freedom when it came to this course, and they allowed me to embed it into our curriculum. And I designed the course and teach the course. I traveled with the students and worked all the shifts that they worked, and really it's just a real experiential, inclusive environment. We're all in, all of us, all together.
Yeah. Now, Spencer, while the game was going on, what were your actual responsibilities? Did you get to sort of watch the game as a fan at all?
So our responsibilities were fan service, which is kind of our title as well. So it was directing people to the nearest stairwells, escalators, bathrooms, where the media, a lot of media members asking us where the workrooms were, helped directing them to there. Just making sure all the fans had a good experience, greeting them, saying hi, having a smile on our face. And I was able to sneak some peeks at the game. The second half, not a lot of people had questions, so I watched a little bit more of the second half, but mostly our responsibility was helping fans, but yeah, we got a pretty cool experience as both fans and helping out actual fans that paid tickets to be there.
Yeah, and a great game to boot. Dr. Streeter, have you seen, say, in the last 10 or 15 years, a big increase in jobs in the sports management, sports marketing fields?
The sport industry in general is a multi-billion-dollar industry. The NFL alone is a multi-billion-dollar industry. And when you couple that with the other major sports, particularly in our country, um, there are a multitude of opportunities for students. And what students don't realize is that there are thousands of opportunities in the realm of sport. And what our sport management program teaches is all of those behind the scenes components of sport, all of those options that are available to students that typically students don't know about. The branding and the sponsorship and the marketing and the advertising and the facility operations and tournament operations and event management and all those behind the scenes components of sport we introduce to our students. And this Super Bowl trip encompasses all of those things. It gives them a real firsthand look at all of the behind the scenes workings of a major sport event. And it encompasses all of the things that we talk about and discuss in the classroom, and it allows them to see these things in action firsthand. So it's a really wonderful experiential learning opportunity for the students, where we take all of our classroom concepts and apply it to a real life sporting event. And in this case, it just happens to be the Super Bowl.
Yeah. Now, Spencer, we all know the marketing slogan, what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. And I don't want you getting thrown out of school or anything, but give us something PG rated that happened where you just said, "Oh my, I can't believe I'm here." The old pinch myself moment.
I think during the week, besides just the Super Bowl, one of the things that we did as a group is some of the students actually went up the Eiffel Tower replica in Las Vegas. So that was one of those like, oh my goodness moments where it's like that almost doesn't feel real. But during the game itself, I think when it hit overtime and we realized that we're watching the second ever overtime Super Bowl, and it kind of hit a lot of us because I was working in a group with some of other students from Nichols, and it hit us, and we're like, we're watching history here. So that was one of those aha moments where it's like, we're really here. And again, it almost still doesn't feel real. It was a surreal experience and a dream come true for me personally. So it's still a lot to take in.
That sounds amazing. Now, on the lighthearted side, I learned a few things about Spencer. He's a linebacker on the school's football team, as well as a thrower on the track and field team, and he is from the great state of Connecticut and a proud high school graduate of Norwich Free Academy. Before we let you go, Spencer, please don't tell me you're a Patriots fan.
I am. I've been a Patriots fan since I started watching football, but going through some tough times, but I got some hope for this next season draft coming up.
My co-host, who isn't on today, is a huge Patriots fan up in Canada, and I'm a Giants fan, so I keep just telling them we're 2-0 against you guys in the Super Bowl while we sink to the bottom of the standings. Now, also, is it true? Do you have a podcast of your own?
I do, and to kind of toot my own horn a little bit, me and another student, Jack Clifford, that went on the trip. It's called the Bison Boys Podcast. We co-host it with a couple other of our friends from here at school, and we post it to Spotify and Apple Podcasts whenever we get a chance. Sometimes it's weekly, sometimes it's bi-weekly, depending on how busy our schedules are. But yeah, we do run a podcast here at Nichols.
Okay, that's neat. The Bison Boys Podcast. And last question, which I'd be remiss if I didn't ask. Did you get a chance to see the artist formerly known as Swift during the game at all?
I personally did not, but I do know she was practically a set of double doors away from where we were working because we were right next to the suite on the Kansas City Chiefs side of the stadium. So
That may have been worth saying, you know what? I'm out of the college scene. I'm just busting two doors down here. But no, it sounds like quite an amazing experience. To learn more about Nichols College, you can go to nichols.edu. And for those not familiar, that is spelled Nichols. Dr. Streeter and Spencer, thanks so much for taking some time out to tell us about your amazing trip and coming on the show.
Thank you very much. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Joe.
Okay, and after the break, our small town spotlight heads out to Manitoba, where we'll learn about some houses made from all recycled glass bottles. You're watching Mc&T Sports Report on CHCO-TV. Welcome back to Small Town Spotlight and Mc&T Sports Report on CHCO-TV. For this episode, we head to the province of Manitoba, home of the Winnipeg Jets, the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, and the minor league baseball team, the Winnipeg Goldeyes, named after a fish that served as a smoked delicacy. Head about 90 minutes southwest of Winnipeg, and you'll get to the municipality of Norfolk-Treherne, population 1771. And Treherne is the location of a house, church, and wishing well that are all made of recycled glass bottles. So while you're getting 5 or 10 cents for your empties, let's find out what this town did with theirs by welcoming in Kayla Beam, Community Development Officer of Norfolk-Treherne, Manitoba. Kayla, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
All right, the glass bottle houses, when were they built and who was behind the idea to even do it?
In 79, Bob and Dora Kane started collecting bottles to build them after finding something similar in Ontario. In 82, they built the house, and that took 4,000 bottles. And then a year later, in 83, they built the church, and that took 5,000 bottles. And then after one summer, they had 7,000 visitors. They decided to expand, and that was in 87, and they built a fully functional washroom. And that took 1,000 bottles, and then they built a wishing well, and that was 500.
Now
So
the toilet seat's not built of bottles, is it? Okay.
they were actually originally built on their farm, and then they were moved to town after they passed away. So they were moved to town in 2007, I believe it was. So
Okay.
yeah,
Now, is there any admission charge to get in, and what months is it actually open?
there's no fee to get in. It's donations only. The gates are unlocked from as soon as the snow melts till it snows in the fall pretty well. So all summer, spring, fall. In the summer, we usually have a student doing actual tours, but the rest of the time, you can go anytime for a self-guided tour. So
Okay. And about like in a normal season, how many people visit?
last year, I counted back, we had over 1,000. So
And
yeah, and
you'd mentioned they're from other countries also?
yeah, like I was just reading back this morning again in like Denmark, the UK, Austria, Australia, and then someone even noted that they'd got engaged in 2020 at that spot, and they were revisiting. So
Do they smash a bottle in celebration after the engagement? So now the house, the church, the washroom, the wishing well, you said over 10,000 bottles total. Now, down here in Connecticut, they just upped the returnable bottle rate to 10 cents each. So you're talking over $1,000 if an enterprising person recycled all of them. Who takes care of the upkeep of the place?
So it's taken care of by the Norfolk-Treherne Community Development Corporation, the community development officer, which is me, and then a summer student in the summers to do like a tourism director position. So
Okay. Now, in addition to the glass bottle houses, Norfolk-Treherne is also home to an agricultural museum, a gorgeous aquatic center, and a golf course. But you had mentioned to me it's also home to the Second Chance Car Museum, which I could probably fill with my Second Chance cars. Tell us about the Second Chance Car Museum.
So yeah, it's been built for a couple of years. So it's a new building. It's just down the street from the glass bottle buildings, and it holds 100 collector cars. So there'll be different vehicles in and out of there because a lot of the cars belong to people in the community that keep them there in the winter. So the cars are kind of always changing too. You're never going to always go and have the same vehicles there, which is cool. And the guy that built the museum actually has several of his own cars in there as well.
Okay, so he's a collector. He has antiques, or
Yeah, so he's got a lot of antiques in there, like throughout the building, and he's still working there. I feel like every time I go, I see something new. So, and I'm not a huge car person, but I sure like to go. There's lots of cool things to see. So,
yeah, that's neat to have both of those tourist attractions in a small town like yours. Now, in my intro, I talked about the sports teams in Winnipeg, but you have to tell us about this Nordic spa that you mentioned in Winnipeg.
yeah, it's a pretty fun place to go, really relaxing. They've got like 4 outdoor pools and 4 different spa areas with like a lounge, fire pits year round to sit around outside. It's just a neat place that not everywhere has. And yeah, it's a nice little relaxing spot. So
And that's about 90 minutes away from where you are?
yeah, it's about an hour to the perimeter of the city. So
Okay. And you're
yeah,
about an hour from the US border also, right?
we are, yeah. Yeah,
Okay.
depending on where you want to cross, but the closest crossing is about an hour from us. So
And what state is that?
that's North Dakota.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Um, and lastly, as we ask many of our guests, give me a favorite non-chain restaurant or two in the Norfolk-Treherne area.
So the drive-in, L&J's Drive-in's a really popular spot in the summer. So it's only open kind of spring to fall as well, similar to the glass bottle buildings. But yeah, they're known for their burgers and pierogies, ice cream, and fried chicken. And then if you were coming from the east, traveling from Winnipeg, there's another place in Rathwell called the Happy Plate, and they have lots of gluten-free options. They have also pizzas and pies and desserts and good breakfast items. So yeah, we have lots of good places to stop, but that's 2 of them that I'll talk about today.
Okay, so Ellen J's and the Happy Plate. We'll definitely pop up pictures of those. Well, she is Kayla Beam, the Community Development Officer of Norfolk-Treherne in Manitoba. And to find out more about the area, you can go online to treherne.ca, and that's spelled Treherne. Kayla, you passed the test. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Thanks for having me.
And we're back. Another great interview, Joe, but I got to pick out something. I always pick on your shirts, but you're wearing an RNS shirt. Are you, you're ditching your allegiance to my school?
I did have the RNS sweatshirt there, but I would absolutely never do that unless schools keep providing me free gear. But that
Hint, hint.
that sweatshirt does lead me to my shout out. Last month, I hosted Rothesay Netherwood. I screwed it up already. Rothesay Netherwoods.
There you go. You see, you can't get in now that they've ditched you already.
The RNS basketball program, as they took a trip from Canada down here to Connecticut. They played 2 games and also attended the sold-out UConn Notre Dame women's game at Gamble Pavilion on the campus of UConn. So I'd like to thank and shout out David Shields, his wife Dar, and Coach Kaylee Kilpatrick for visiting the state. And I even got the team to try some white clam pizza and Fox and Park white birch beer soda at Pepe's, which you will try if you ever make the trip down here, Evan.
Yeah, we'll get there, which will lead me to my shout out. Maybe I can convince them over the next couple of years. But shout out to my team, who I guess despite all odds, due to their age and maturity in the sport, actually gave it a run in regionals this year. We came up just a hair short. Couple buckets go in, and we're looking at it differently. But I mean, we had basically a middle school team with one senior this year, Elijah Hulse, and they were unreal. They would not fold. It was really fun to be a part of, and I'm super proud of the guys. And it sucks that we're losing Elijah, but he played a a key role in the development of this team. He was an amazing leader, and I look forward to seeing what he does in the future, and I look forward to seeing what our team does in the coming years, because they're a really fun group.
Those are the fun ones to coach, where you know you have a majority of your team coming back, and the kids have bought in, and I know
unfinished business.
yeah, that'll be some good stuff come next year. All righty, well, that is it for episode 67 of Mc&T Sports Report. I'm Joe in New Haven.
I'm Evan here in St. Andrews.
Thanks to Patrick Watt and Florence Mitchell for producing and editing a show that basically jumped the shark after just its first season on the air. But we're still here. This is Mc&T Sports Report on CHCO-TV in St. Andrews.